Before we start building complex sites with Framer, we need to understand layout. If layout can make sense to you, 90% of Framer will become very easy to understand. In this video, I'm going to show you how layout works in Framer using frames and stacks, and I'll show you how they behave in real time. So this is a Framer file. You want to draw a frame, and to do that you can click F on your keyboard and just draw, or come over here under layout, select layout and click on frame. So you just want to draw a random frame like this. Now this is a frame over here, so let's duplicate this. So you can Ctrl D to duplicate, or just hold down Option and click and drag to duplicate. So these are two different frames. Now I'll turn one of these frames into a stack. So while this is selected, I'll come over here under this layout properties here, just click on layout, and by doing that you have turned this frame into a stack. A stack is also a frame, right? So a frame basically is just anything that can contain, or you can place elements inside of, right? So a stack is just a frame, but a responsive frame. I'll show you an example very soon. So this here is a frame, this is a stack. Now let me show you how they work. I'll select layout, select frame. Let's just draw another frame. We can color this, can give this a different color over here on the right property panel. Remember what I said. Whatever thing you want to make changes to, whether it's style change or size, whatever thing it is, select it. Until you select it, you're not going to see anything here. You select the particular element and you'd find literally anything that you can change about that particular selected element or layer. Now in this case, I want to change the color of this. So I'll come over here under styles. Then you see this fill property here. So I'll select this and maybe give this a blue color like this. Nice. So if I carry this blue frame, this is a frame, and I place it inside, because the both of them are containers, you can put things inside them. So if I place this blue frame inside this frame, you will see that this is the main frame, this is the white frame over here in the layers panel, and because I have a child element, you see that this is the child element here, which is the blue frame. Now if I place this frame on the top left here, it's going to stay there. Right, it's going to stay there. If I place it on the top right, it's going to stay there. So this is just like like a room where you can place whatever you want, anywhere you want. But you see stacks, on the other hand, they work differently. So think of a stack as a smart container that arranges things for you, depending on the properties you set. Now, if I copy this blue frame, right, Ctrl C, and I select this stack here and I Ctrl V to paste it inside, as you can see now, this blue frame is inside this stack. Now, if I try to move this guy up here, it's not going to work, because this stack is automatically aligning this blue frame to the center, right? So it's not going to work. It's always going to snap back to the center. Now if I select this parent stack, because in this case now the child is the blue and then the overall frame is the parent. If I select this parent, over here under layout, you will see some properties that I can change about it. Now for type, stack is what we want to leave it as. You can change this to grid. That's if you have maybe like 20 frames here and you want it to be in a grid style, maybe 2x2 or 4x2, or 4 columns or rows. You know what grids are. But in this case, we'll not talk about grids yet. We'll leave it as stack. Now direction. Let me show you an example of how direction works. Now I'll select this child blue and duplicate it, right? So I've duplicated it. Right now, from what we can see here, the direction of this parent stack is horizontal. That's from left to right. So if I have multiple blue frames here, is always going to align itself horizontally. But let me select the parent stack and come back here. So as you can see, direction now is horizontal. That's what it's set on. But I can change this to vertical like this. As you can see, it is now aligned, from top to down. Now distribute center. So right now, the children frames are distributed from the center, right? But we can change that distribution to stats. So as you can see now, it's distributing from the start. That's the top of the parent stack. And we can change this to end as well. Obviously, it's going to distribute from the end. And we can change this to space between, space around. I won't go deep into this so that you don't get confused. Now for alignment, from the visualization here, you can see right now it's aligned center. So you can change the alignment to the left. You can change it to the right. Right? Beautiful. Now for wrap, I want to ignore this for now. Gap. So gap is pretty much the space between the elements or the layers inside the stack. Right? So now in this case, there are two frames here, two blue frames inside the stack. And gap is just the space between them. Let's make it 3 so that you can see very well. If I now select the stack and I come over here and I change the gap for 10 to something like 22, as you can see, the gap is increasing. So that's how gap works. And for padding is basically the space around the parent stack. So padding is the space like around the stack. So in this case now, as you can see, there is no space. These blue frames are in the edge of the parent stack. So like there's no space there. So if I increase this padding now on all sides, because you can increase the padding on specific sides if you want to do that, but you can increase them on all sides. So if I change this from 0 now to like 20, as you can see, there is now space on the bottom and there's space on the right. So if I use this option here, I can change specific padding values. So let's say I want to add padding just for the bottom. I can come over here. As you can see, this is T for top, R for right, B for bottom, and then L for left. Now, this is how you can change individual, sides, the padding values for individual sides. Now, the reason why the padding is not applying to the top, because as you can see over here, there's padding on all sides. So by default, you should see the padding that you are seeing here on the left and on the bottom, on the top. But the reason why you can't see it is because this parent stack now, the width and the height is set to fixed, right? So what this means is this width now is 504, the height is 502. Now what this means is no matter what you do, no matter how many children frames you add inside here, the stack would remain the same. It's not going to change, right? Remember what I said? The stack is like a responsive container that automatically arranges your content. It's doing that right now, but the thing is, the size is it's not going to change because of the fixed you're seeing here. So this height now, if I change the height from fixed to fit content, you will see that you can now see padding on the top. And the reason why you can't see padding on the left is the same reason. It's because the width is still set to fixed, right? So while this is selected, that's the parent stack. Always remember, you can change the width from fixed to fit. Now you can now see the padding on all sides. So this is pretty much how stacks work. This is just the beginning, however. Now, that example I wanted to show you is, so think of stack as the foundation for responsiveness. What is responsiveness? Responsiveness basically is like a situation where your design is responsive across all or different screen sizes. So think about maybe you have a design on a desktop screen, which is a big screen, and then you reduce that desktop screen to a tablet. That design is still going to look good, still going to look responsive. And if you decrease that same design to a smaller screen size, which is phone, still going to look good. So that's responsiveness across all devices. Now let me illustrate something real quick. So now this stack here that you're looking at now, so imagine this stack as a phone screen, and then think of these blue frames, these blue children frames as sections. So maybe this is the hero section, this is the about section, this is the contact section, because that's how sites works. If you open any site, for instance, you'd see sections, section by section. That's how you build sites, professional sites. Now, one rule of thumb I like to talk about is if you want a responsive design, the outermost stack, the outermost parent, in this case now, where's the outermost parent stack? Is this stack wrapping all these children? Now remember, all these children can still be parents to their own children. Let's do something quick. I can draw a frame, a smaller frame, white, and I can let's control X to cut this, and I can paste it inside one of the children frames. So like, let's paste this here. So as you can see, this frame now is inside one of the children. So now in this case now, this blue guy, this first blue frame is a parent to this white frame. And now this stack now wrapping this first blue frame is a parent to literally everything that is inside it, if that makes sense. So now the outermost parent, which is this blue frame, this is this white frame rather, the width should always be fixed. The outermost. So if I draw, let's do something now. If I draw a frame again, maybe a frame like this, and I turn this into a stack by clicking on layout. If I put this guy inside here now, like this, now this is the outermost parent, right? So the outermost parent, the width should always be fixed, and all the children inside it, the width should always be set to fill container, everything to the last children. Now in this case now, this guy is the outermost frame, outermost stack, outermost parent in this case. Now we'll select this former parent. Now we cannot leave it as fixed again or fit. We have to change it to fill container. Now everything inside that would also be fill container. This is how responsiveness works. It might not make sense to you now, but just do as I see, and moving forward, you get to understand why I do this. Now select these children inside, select everything like this. You can hold down shift to click everything at once, make it fill container. Again, this white children, this white one inside this first blue frame. We also want to make that one fill container, right? Not relative, fill container. Now the reason why you can't make it fill container, as you can see, the option to like make it fill container is not showing up, is because the parent, the immediate parent of this white frame is not a stack, right? So if I select this parent now, that's this white frame, always make it a habit to use your layer panel, because sometimes like you might not be sure of what you're clicking, right? So select this frame, turn this into a stack, and to do that, you can use this button here, like this. Now that you've turned that into a stack, that's the first blue. You can now select the child like this and change this to fill. Beautiful. This is what we want, right? Now, the height, just the way I said the width of the outermost parent should be fixed. The height of the outermost parent, the outermost stack, should be fit content, right? So let's select this guy. On that height, let's make this fit content like this. Nice, right? The reason I'm saying this is because if you add multiple, let's duplicate this. If you add multiple stacks inside, the outer, inside the parent, the height is always going to increase, which is what you want. This is how responsiveness works, right? Now, I said you should think of this outermost stack as a phone screen. Now, let's see, after doing all of this, now I want to change this into a bigger screen, which is tablet. I can just select this frame, Control D to duplicate, and let's change this into a bigger screen size. So we'll do this like this. So as you can see, everything inside it is increasing in width, right? So that's what we want. So remember what I said, don't forget this. The outermost stack, the outermost parent, the width should be fixed. And then the height should be fit content. Such that when you increase, when you add more layers or more frames inside the stack, it's going to increase in height. And then when you increase the width, maybe if you want to change it to a desktop screen or you want to change it to a tablet screen, the content will increase accordingly. Let me give you a much more realistic example. So we can grab a text here, click, and then just type literally anything. So right now you can't see anything because the text is black. So we'll select it over here. Remember, come to the right. Under text, you see color. So we can change this color to white. So sorry for this bad example. I should have used real text. But now I want to show you an example of what I mean. So now you want to wrap this text inside a stack, right? So we'd right click. And come over here and add stack. So there are two ways of adding this text into a stack. So you can just wrap a stack around it, or alternatively, draw a frame, turn the frame into a stack, and then copy the text and paste the text inside the stack, which is a longer process. So just right click and click on add stack. As you can see over here on the layers property panel, you'll see that this is the stack and then this is the text. So now a stack is wrapping the text. Beautiful. Now you want to come over here. Remember what I said, the outermost layer should be fixed, and then the height, make it fit content, right? Now the reason why you can't see nothing is because we've not added any property to the stack. So we'll come over here to styles, so we can add color and all of that stuff. So we'll click on color. We don't want the color of the stack to be white because the text is already white, so we need to create contrast. So let's give this a sharp red. Beautiful. Now there's a problem here. There's no padding. The text looks choked up. So we'll come over here to layers. Remember, padding on all sides. We'll give this something like let's do 40. Beautiful. Now, if you notice something, there's no padding on the left and the right side. The reason for that is because the inside container, remember what I said, whatever you have inside the container should always be filled, right? Fill the available space. The reason why we're not seeing padding here is because the width over here is set to fixed, right? So we want to select this text now. And over here, we don't want it to be fit. Remember, whatever you have inside should be fill container, right? Whatever you have inside should be fill, whether it's multiple nesting, multiple children, and multiple parents, everything should be fill container. It is only the outermost that should be fixed, and then the height should be fit, right? So we'll select the child, which is this text, and we'll make the width, make it fill container. Beautiful. Now you can see that there is now 40 pixels padding on all sides. Now let me show you an example of what I mean. So let's say this is a tablet screen and I want to change this to mobile. If I resize this guy like this, I see what the text is doing. The text is readjusting itself to fit the available space it has, right? Because as I'm reducing it, the text is also reducing itself and going to the next line. And the reason why the height of this parent stack is increasing is because the height here is set to fit, right? So if I increase this, everything is going to work just fine. So you can imagine how this is going to help you when you start building sites. You start to nest things, parents, make it feel container. This is pretty much the foundation of responsiveness. And the knowledge of this is literally going to help you understand layout and understand responsiveness in the framework. That is pretty much it for this. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.